Hello, I'm Melissa and welcome to Teacher Inspiration Station. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about routines and procedures that you need to think about before you start school. Okay, so I made a video about this way back in the day, maybe 2-3 years ago. And I have updated some of the things that I do in my classroom. A, because of COVID, and B, you know, as time goes on, you learn what works, what doesn't work. And also it changes with the class too, if I'm honest, like depends on what kind of kids you have. So anyway, I do have this document that I did make, and it goes over the rules, classroom entry, what kids do during the national anthem, different activities, signals for attention. So I can send this to you if you want it. Like I said, it is a little outdated, but a lot of the things that I do may work for you. So let me know in the comments down below with your email address and I could send that to you. But there's a lot of free checklists on Teachers Pay Teachers, and I will list them all below. And it gives you some ideas on things that you need to think about when you're starting school and the routines that you teach your students. So we have one from Sweet for Kindergarten, free. This one I got from Rachel Lynette, free. And this one I got from Carolyn's Creative Classroom, free. And this one I did have to pay for. It's from the Clutter-Free Classroom. You can also get some great free checklists. So one thing you gotta keep in mind when you're teaching kids routines and procedures is don't teach them everything at once, because it's just too much information coming at them. So I just teach it as we go along. I model it for the children, we practice it. And I also teach them like why we're doing this. So a really great book that I like to use is The Day Jimmy's Boa Ate the Wash. And in it, it's about a bunch of kids who went on a field trip to the farm, and there was all this chaos happening, kids throwing eggs and chickens flying all over the place and boa constrictor. It's chaos. So I introduced that concept of chaos and why we need order in the classroom. Like if we all just come in and did whatever we wanted, that creates a chaotic classroom that is unsafe and also not a great environment for learning, right? So we talk about like, why do you think we need rules? Why do you think we need like routines and things that we have to do every day and whatever? So we do have discussions on that. So I just thought I would go through, I'm gonna stick with Carolyn's Creative Classroom because I really do think that she has a lot of, I feel like she covers all the basics. I will go through this resource, talk to you about what I do, and hopefully that'll give you some ideas on what you can do in your classroom. Okay, so she first starts off with the morning routine. What is it that kids do when they first come into the classroom? For us, because of COVID, I meet all my students outside, which, you know, I've always done that. But now I have to talk to each parent and they have to give me the okay that their child is healthy to come to school. So they hang their stuff up, and then what do they do when they enter the classroom? Do they get a book? They get a book. Where do they get the book? Is there a bin of books on the carpet that they can choose from? Do they sit on the carpet? Do they stay at their desks and get a book from their book bag? Is there going to be like a book already on their desk? That's the book they look at. Do you have them? I had one teacher that I observed, and she had her kids color when they first got in. So she had a little coloring sheet, which is like, she thought of it as like mindfulness when they first come in, and that's just something that they do to just calm themselves down when they start the day. And she had calm music playing. Are kids allowed to talk when they enter the classroom? So these are things that you need to think about. I did observe a classroom once where the kids did not talk. They had their jobs that they had to do. They had communication bags. They had to go book shopping, and they all knew exactly what they had to do, and there was no talking. It was, you have a job, do your job, and they didn't talk. I was like, wow. And when kids first enter the classroom, like, I like to just be standing by the door, and I have my hand sanitizer, and I'll squirt their hand with some sanitizer, and they come in and they look at their book. There are some teachers I know who do like little greetings, like fist bumps and high fives and hugs or whatever. I can't keep up with that. I'd do it for maybe a week and then I'd be like, eh, you know what I mean? Because like, the kids have to kind of line up, and I just want to get started. When you hang up your stuff, come into the classroom, I'll squirt your hand and you just come into the classroom. And I do greet them, good morning, so and so. But yeah, all those little greetings, and I don't do that personally. But if you do it, that's great. You know, do what works for you. A lot of things that I've learned as a teacher is do what works for you. What works for one teacher may not work for another. So I think in a lot of cases there's no right or wrong. I mean, sometimes there is a right and a wrong way to do something, but I think in a lot of cases there isn't. It's just your preference and, you know, what works for you, and it's also based on your personality as well. So anyways, just putting that out there. And then we usually have the announcement. So first I'm in Canada, so we do something called the land acknowledgement. And once they hear that, they just stop whatever they're doing, they put their books down and they sit and they listen. So you gotta think about when the announcements come on, or when O Canada comes on, or national anthem, Pledge of Allegiance, whatever you do, what are the kids doing during that time? And then for me, the kids, they put everything down, they don't read anymore, they just listen to the announcements. And when it comes to the national anthem, they stand up, hands at their side. For kids who don't stand up for O Canada for whatever reason, for me it's always been a religious reason why a child didn't stand up for O Canada. But what are those kids doing? Are they allowed to just sit and look at their book still? Do they just sit like and watch? Like, you gotta think about what you want those kids to be doing as well. And we practice it, and we even practice it even when it's not the morning. So I mean, the kids come in and I can say what I want them to do when that first announcement comes on, but then you can also model it in the middle of the day or at the end of the day. Like, okay, tomorrow when the announcements come on, this is what you're gonna do. And then when the next day comes, you'll say, remember what we practiced? When you hear the announcements, you're gonna put your books down, and you can warn them or let them know before the announcements even come on. Just like a heads up of this is what we're gonna do. And you do have to keep reminding them, because when you're teaching routines and procedures, you don't tell them once and then that's it. It's something that you're gonna have to revisit multiple times. One thing that this document talks about is the morning meeting. Like, what does that look like? Do you have a cue to come sit on the carpet? Like for me, whenever I want the kids to put their books away, because after the announcements and things like that, they can put their books away, but I play a song. And the song is our good morning song, and it's called It's a Beautiful Day, and I will link it down below. So they know that means they gotta put their books away. And in the past it was meet me on the carpet, but right now we don't have a carpet because of COVID or whatever, so we got rid of our carpet. So they stay at their desks. But that's the good morning song that I play, and that lets them know, okay, it's time for me to put my stuff away. And again, we practice this, that they know that this is what they do when they hear that song. That starts our morning off, our morning routine, which is the calendar. And then we do a question of the day. And you know, then you have to ask yourself, like, how do kids share? Like, is there like a little talking stick? We don't do that. I just have each child share the answer to the question of the day, and if someone doesn't want to share, they can say pass, and I'll pass, I'll move on. I do encourage them to participate, but they don't have to if they don't want to. Do you have a morning message? For me, I didn't do morning messages, but I did do a poem of the week. And then how do they transition? If you have carpet, how do they transition to the carpet and from the carpet? What I do is I have kids have their own spots on the carpet. You're going to notice an immediate difference when you assign seats on the carpet. Kids in grade 1, they will remember where they sit. Like, you don't need to put like little like tape with their names on it. They'll remember. Like, I'll have row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5, and they remember where they sit in their rows. And then we model, like, okay, everyone go back to your seats at your desk. When I count to 3, row 1 come and sit, or I'll do it by row. And eventually I would have everyone come, like, okay, at the count of 3, I want you all to come and sit on the carpet in your spots. 1, 2, 3. And they come and they do that. And again, just the modeling and the practice, and they get pretty good at it. So, and they know where they sit, because if you don't give them if you do not give them assigned seats, they move around on the carpet. So and so's gonna try and sit with their friend. You have to say, oh, can you come back here? Don't move. Like, it's just, it's too much. Just give them assigned seating. I promise it will make your life so much easier. Bathroom and water breaks. So what is your procedures for going to the washroom? Are they allowed to go to the washroom during instruction time? And my kids have to go with a partner. Now you can have partners that are assigned, that every time you go to the washroom, you're going with this person. Or I've had some kids to like hold up hands, like, I don't remember what it was. This means washroom and this means water. I don't remember. I've never actually done it, but I know that some teachers do that so that kids don't, like when they raise their hand, like if you're doing something on the carpet, if kids raise their hand to go to the washroom, that you know that when they're putting up a pointer that they gotta go to the washroom. So you can just say, okay, go. And it's not disruptive. So teachers do that, but you gotta think about what do I want? And water breaks. One thing that's made my life easier is kids not bringing their water bottles into the classroom. But I just find that it creates mess. Like they spill their water bottle and it's like, oh, they have to get paper towels, and it happens more often than you think it wouldn't. More often than you think it would. And when the years that I didn't have them bring the water bottles to the classroom, it was just so much easier. And if they need water, they can just go get water. Like it wasn't an issue. Like it wasn't that serious. Anyways, you decide what you're gonna do for that. Cafeteria. So what are the kids doing when they have to eat? So for us, because of COVID, the kids have eaten in their classrooms because we had to stay in our cohorts. But what are the kids doing during that time? Of course, they're sitting at their desks. Do you want it to be like a boomerang lunch where whatever garbage they bring to school, they gotta bring back home? Of course, they can dump out, like, you know, things with liquid in it, like a juice box or yogurt that's been open. That's what they could throw out, but like wrappers and things like that, it goes home. And also it promotes, like, you know, litterless lunches, right? But you gotta think about what do you want them to do? Could they throw their stuff out in the classroom? When could they throw it out? Do they throw it out at the end after they've eaten their lunch? Or are they able to get up in the middle of lunch and throw it out? You decide. Find it easier for them to just throw it out when they're done their lunch. Okay, when you're done your lunch, you can throw your stuff out and then, you know, pack up your stuff and then get a book. So what do they do after they finish eating? You know what I mean? And what I had started to do, which I thought worked really well, some teachers read to their students while they're eating lunch, which I think is a nice idea. And what I started to do is I used to play like Wonder Grove Kids, like something on because I have a big like TV, and it was something that I would play on there, or I would play soft music or whatever, just something to keep them calm. Because if you've walked into a lunchroom, it's very loud and chaotic, and some kids they don't do well in that environment. So I just do like lunch to be calm, also for safety reasons, right? And the books, classroom books. So you also have to, you might take for granted, oh, the kids, they know how to hold a book, but they don't. Sometimes you have to teach them like how to turn the page. My kids don't share books because of COVID, but prior to COVID, they were allowed to share books, and only 2 kids can share a book, because I was noticing that 3 kids would want to share a book, 4 kids, 5 kids. So it was just a rule that 2 kids can share a book. You sit side by side. And then also how to put the books away. I have different bins. I have books that are, you know, realistic fiction, animal and human relationships, and just different, and they're color coded so kids know where to put the books in. And I also show them how to put the book in. So the cover is facing out. I also have leveled readers. You have to model how they put the books back as well. So all of that you gotta show them. And again, practice it. Classroom jobs. I kind of did away with the classroom jobs. I used to have it where every week I would change the jobs. There was a line leader and a door holder and attendance monitors. The only jobs that I've heard someone do this, people do this, where you pick a student of the day and that child does all the jobs. Or maybe you can, I think I'm gonna do that this year, where I'll put 2 students of the day, and they could be 2 helpers for the day. And they do all the jobs. They'll take down the attendance. They are going to hold the doors. I think I'm gonna do that this year. But what I've done in the past, I used to do that whole like jobs for everything. But then I stopped doing that because I just found it to be like I found it to be a waste of time. And then it was always like, say I picked 2 kids to hold the door. Sometimes there would be 3 doors that they have to hold open, and then I would say to the 3rd kid, okay, hold the door, and then be like, I'm not the door holder. And it just became so like, this is not my job, you know, kind of thing. So I just kind of became a bit more, whenever we line up, whoever is at the front just holds the door. And last year that was not an issue with my students. Like, I didn't have kids be like, oh, I don't want to hold the door, oh, okay. Like, they just did it. So I guess it depends on your class as well. But something you got to think about is the jobs. But I think I am going to try it today, where it's just 2 kids I pick to be the helpers of the day. I think I'm going to do that this year. I'm going to do it this year. And then I just rotate it daily. Or you can rotate it weekly. Okay. This classroom management. So classroom rules. So my rules, I used to be walking feet, helping hands, eyes on the speaker, quiet mouths, listening ears, and respect ourselves, others, and property. Now I just have respect ourselves, others, and property, and we talk a lot about respect, what it looks like, what it doesn't look like. And that's a question I'll ask, like, are you respecting yourself when you do this? Are you respecting so-and-so when you do that? Are you respecting me? Are you respecting property? So everything that the decisions that they make in the classroom, it just bottles down to respect. And we talk again a lot about what respect is and what it isn't. Okay. Do you do incentives or rewards? What I do, which I think, oh, the kids loved it. And the parents loved it too. And they were sunshine notes, and I can link down below the free resource that I use to type up the sunshine notes. But they have little headers like, your child made me smile today, or above and beyond. And there's like a little space where you can type up something. And my kids every day looked forward to the sunshine notes. They're like, who got the sunshine note today? And I keep I do keep a checklist of all the kids who have gotten it, so that, you know, Susie isn't getting it 10 times while Johnny only got it once or whatever. I do keep track. But it could be anything. Anything that you saw a child do that was just like, nice. I type up the note like around lunchtime or on a prep. And at the end of the day, I'll announce you got the sunshine note, and they can take it home and they can show their parents. Like, I've had kids say they put the sunshine note on the fridge, or they collect them, and I like that it's so personalized. It's not like a generic good job today. It's personal, and it's like a little note, so it really takes me 5 minutes to type, you know. Like, it's just, I think they're great. And it's one thing too, that when you have bad news to deliver to a parent, it just makes it so much easier because you've already told them, you know, good things about their child. So yeah, I would recommend people do that. And a cleanup routine. How do they clean up? My kids, they have their own little bins with things. I do something called a piggy patrol, where I go around and I check their bins. So I do give them opportunities to clean out their bin. I model for them, when you're done using your crayon, you put it back in the bag, you close the bag. I model putting pencils away. All these things you think, oh, they know how to do it. No. You'll have kids who use a pencil and just throw it back in the bin. They don't put it back in the little container it came in. Some kids are neater than other kids, but it's something you gotta model, but also just remind them that they gotta keep doing it. Is there a song gonna be played while they clean up? Whatever. What do they do when their pencil is broken? Could they use a sharpener? For me, I just have a bunch of sharpened pencils. If their pencil breaks, they can just get one that's sharpened already. I don't have problems with the sharpener at all. Okay, and if you have centers, what are the expectations in the centers? Do you pick a center that they have to be at? This is more like for kindergarten, but do you, or it could be for primary. Like, if you have literacy centers, do you pick the center they're in? Do they pick? How many kids are at each center? Things like that you need to think about. I talked about the desk organization. I have different groups. Like, I have the oh goodness, I don't remember the names of the groups now, but you can do reptiles, birds, fish, insects. I did once like the cooperative group, the respectful, I don't remember, but I put a lot of thought into those names and I can't even think of the names right now. But they each have their own groups, and they each have their assigned seating. Especially for COVID, I have to like space them out. Do you do table points or what? You know, you gotta think about those things. I used to back in the day, but I don't do that anymore. But yeah. And then your dismissal. What does that look like? I have kids who sometimes go to daycare. Do they just go on their own? If you have kids who take the bus, what does that look like? If they have to leave early, what does that look like? Do they have to pick books before they go? Is there like a folder or communication bags that they have to pack up before they go? Do they have agendas? Do they need to write the homework? And you know, you gotta think about what does the end of the day look like. Is there an end of the day song? Like I had a good morning song. I don't have an end of the day song. I think I should do that though, but I don't. I think I used to do that in the past, but then I always forget to sing the song because it's always like a rush situation. I don't know. But good morning songs work for me, but end of the day songs I haven't done. But maybe I should do that or look into that. And then emergency procedures. So if there's like a fire drill, what is the procedure for that? We do have practice ones at school. You probably do too. What to do if there's a lockdown. If it's a lockdown, the kids have to be quiet. We got to go in a certain area of the room and lock the door. If it's a fire drill, I just tell them like, we don't need to panic. We don't need to start screaming and running around the room. As soon as you hear the bell, you line up. We go out, and I tell them we have to make sure that we're quiet because we might be getting instructions and we won't hear the instructions if it's loud. So the way we exit might not be safe during a real fire. That might be where we might be going towards danger and we need to go to a different exit. So I talk to them again about the reasons why we need to be quiet, right? And the kids are usually pretty good about the fire drills, generally speaking. And hallway behavior. How are the kids in the hallway? Should they be spaced out? Some teachers even have them assigned a spot in the line, like they're numbered and they gotta just go in their spot in the line. I've never actually done that. Are you gonna have line leaders? Are you gonna have a caboose? Just let them know that how you want them to walk down the hall. What does that look like? I'm done, now what? So what do kids do when they're finished their work? I like them to have a little book that they can look at. Sometimes I have like little activity books that have word searches in them, connect the dots, word scrambles, things that they can do that's independent that they're not gonna need me to help them with because I'm gonna be busy helping kids with the actual work. They can finish up work that they've done before. If that's the case, where do they get the work? Is the work gonna be in their bins? Is it a place that they have to go get their work? You gotta think about that. Where do they put the work that they're done? Do they just, is there a bin that they put it in? Do they just give it to me? I just have bin of work that's their finished work bin. So I have them do it there, and work that they're still working on, they can keep at their bin. I used to have a still working bin, but then I would have kids have to kind of shuffle through the papers to find theirs. I just find it so much easier if they just keep it at their little bins that they have. So yeah. And then recess. So could the kids eat food during recess? So for me, I let them, they have snack at recess, but I like them to eat their snack first and then play. So we talk about that. Sometimes we go out a little early so that they can have that time to eat their snack and then still have, you know, a good bit of time to go out and play. How do they line up? First, it's a bell. Where do they line up? Do they go to the bathroom during this time? And, you know, different things you gotta think about. What games are you allowed to play, not allowed to play? How to use the playground equipment? These are all things you gotta teach them and model for them. Are they allowed to bring toys outside? Are they not allowed to bring toys? What do I do if I get hurt? And things like that. So recess procedures and rules. I did talk a bit about this. My rules are respect yourselves, others, and property. But do you come up the rules with your class? Some teachers do. What are the consequences if you break rules? What books are you going to teach them about rules? Where are your rules posted? So anyway, this resource from Carolyn's Creative Classroom, she goes on to talk about safety drills and small groups, how the students ask for help when you're in a small group, how do you plan your groups, things like that. Student work, again, we talked a bit about this already, but it's just a few more points there. Supplies, do you do community supplies? Do kids have their own individual supplies? What happens if they run out of a supply? What happens if their pencil breaks? What do they do? And teachers' attention. What do kids do if they need your attention? Do they raise their hand? Do they come up out of their seat and say, I need help? My kids can't do that because I like them to set their spot, but I just tell them, raise your hand. And the visitors in the classroom. So what does that look like? How do you know a visitor's coming? How do the children treat the visitor? And things like that. So again, like I said, this resource is free. Carolyn's Creative Classroom. I will link it down below, along with the other ones that are also free as well. And again, if you want this resource that I created way back when, a couple years ago, and you know, a lot of the things are still pretty relevant, but because of COVID, some of these things have changed. Again, let me know in the comments below if you'd like this resource and I will email it to you. That's it for today's video. If you like it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and I hope to see you all in my next video. Bye.